They told you in school that Christopher Columbus discovered America, but that's not the truth, not even close. Because the story of America's discovery didn't begin in 1492, it began thousands of years earlier, with secret voyages across dangerous seas, forgotten empires that rose and fell, and explorers whose names you've never heard, but who may have stepped on these shores long before Columbus was ever born. And tonight, we're going to uncover every one of their secrets. Welcome to Secrets of the Past. Long before European sails appeared on the horizon, America was already a land of kingdoms, cities, and cultures older than many of Europe's greatest civilizations. This was not an untouched wilderness, it was alive, a vibrant world of science, architecture, religion, and trade. In the north, great cities like Cahokia towered over the Mississippi River Valley. In its prime, Cahokia may have had many more people than London. Its massive earthen mounds were not just piles of dirt but carefully engineered platforms for temples, political centers, and homes of the elite. Thousands gathered there for ceremonies that blended politics and religion into one powerful force. Farther south in Central America, the Maya built pyramid temples so tall they pierced the clouds. They mapped the stars with eerie precision, predicting solar eclipses and tracking the movements of planets without telescopes. They recorded their history in intricate glyphs, many of which still challenge our understanding today. And in the far south, the Inca wove together one of the most advanced empires in the ancient world. Their roads stretched for thousands of miles, crossing mountains, rivers, and deserts. Their stone cities from Cusco to Machu Picchu were built with such perfect craftsmanship that even after centuries of earthquakes, many walls still stand without a single drop of mortar. These were not primitive societies, these were civilizations with rulers, armies, astronomers, engineers, and economies. And they had been here for thousands of years before a single European ever set eyes on them. So if we are talking about the first people to discover America, it was the ancestors of today's Native Americans. They likely arrived during the last ice age when sea levels were lower and a land bridge now submerged beneath the Bering Strait connected Siberia to Alaska. Step by step and generation by generation, they spread across the entire continent. They adapted to deserts, rainforests, tundras, and mountains, creating hundreds of unique cultures and languages. By the time Europeans arrived, these lands were already home to tens of millions of people. But if we narrow the question and if we ask who from the old world got here first, then we have to turn our eyes to the icy seas of the North Atlantic and to a people feared across Europe, the Vikings. Around the year 1000, Leif Erikson, son of Eric the Red, sailed west from Greenland. He had heard rumors of a mysterious land rich in resources. When his ship made landfall, he saw a world unlike anything he had known. Forests thick with timber, rivers filled with salmon, and wild grapes growing in abundance. The Norse called it Vinland, the land of wine. For centuries, many dismissed these stories as legends, but in 1960, an archaeological site at Lanzhou Meadows in Newfoundland, Canada, revealed unmistakable Viking buildings. The discovery proved that the Norse had indeed crossed the Atlantic almost 500 years before Columbus. The sagas even suggest the Vikings explored further south, perhaps reaching modern-day New England or even beyond. In the Greenlanders saga, there are accounts of battles with the Skrælings, fierce native warriors who defended their homeland with skill and courage. One story tells of a Viking woman named Freydis Eriksdottir, who during an attack supposedly grabbed a sword, bared her chest, and charged the enemy, terrifying them into retreat. Whether myth or truth, it shows the harsh and dangerous reality of early contact. But their time in America was brief. They faced constant threats from native people, isolation from their homeland, and a brutal challenge of surviving in an unfamiliar environment. Eventually, they abandoned their settlements and sailed back into legend. Yet the Vikings might not have been the only ones to arrive before Columbus. Some evidence hints at earlier contact between the Americas and other parts of the world. Polynesian navigators, masters of open ocean voyaging, may have reached South America centuries ago. One clue is the sweet potato, a plant native to South America that appears in Polynesia long before European contact. The Polynesian word for sweet potato, komara, is strikingly similar to the word used in parts of South America. Some researchers believe this could mean Polynesians sailed thousands of miles across the Pacific, made landfall in South America, traded or exchanged plants with local people, and then returned to their islands. Considering their legendary navigation skills using stars, swells, and bird flight patterns to guide them, such a journey is not impossible. There are even bolder theories. Some claim Chinese fleets reached the Americas decades before Columbus, citing maps and accounts of massive Ming Dynasty voyages. Others suggest African navigators may have crossed the Atlantic, or that ancient Mediterranean traders like the Phoenicians ventured further than we think. There's also the case of Kensington runestone discovered in Minnesota in 1898. It bears what appears to be a Norse inscription describing a 14th century expedition into North America. Many scholars believe it's a hoax, but others argue it could be genuine evidence of pre-Columbian exploration deep into the continent. Another strange artifact is the Baton Rouge stone found in Louisiana, inscribed with symbols that resemble Mediterranean scripts. These objects remain shrouded in mystery, neither fully accepted nor completely dismissed. Then, of course, comes Columbus, the man who, for better or worse, changed everything. Born in Genoa around 1451, Columbus grew up in Europe, hungry for trade and exploration. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 had cut off Europe's overland routes to Asia, making spices, silk, and precious goods harder to obtain. Columbus believed he could find a westward route to Asia across the Atlantic, but his calculations were wrong. He underestimated the size of the earth and had no idea two continents lay in his way. Still, he convinced Spain's Ferdinand and Isabella to fund his voyage. On August 3, 1492, Columbus sailed from Palos with 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. After more than a month at sea, a lookout cried, "Land!" on October 12th. Columbus stepped onto an island in the Bahamas, claiming it for Spain and believing he was in the Indies. Columbus would make 4 voyages in total, exploring the Caribbean, parts of Central America, and northern coasts of South America. But he never set foot in what is now the United States, and he never realized he had found a new continent. Yet his arrival triggered the most dramatic transformation in human history, the Columbian Exchange. From the Americas came maize, potatoes, tomatoes, cacao, and tobacco. From Europe came wheat, sugar, coffee, horses, cattle, and pigs. But Europe also brought smallpox, measles, and influenza, diseases that ravaged native populations. In some regions, as much as 90% of the indigenous people died within a century. Entire cultures were wiped out almost overnight. This was not just an exchange of goods, it was the collision of worlds. The balance of global power shifted. Empires rose and fell, and the map of the world changed forever. In Columbus's wake came waves of explorers and conquerors. John Cabot reached Newfoundland for England in 1497. Amerigo Vespucci realized these lands were not Asia at all, but an entirely new world, and it was his name, not Columbus's, that would appear on maps. Hernan Cortés toppled the Aztec Empire in Mexico. Francisco Pizarro crushed the Inca in Peru. Spanish galleons began carrying gold and silver across the Atlantic, fueling Spain's rise as a global superpower. But for the indigenous people, this was an age of destruction. Great cities were burned, ancient temples were looted, entire nations were enslaved or wiped out. The so-called discovery of America was for them a catastrophe. So who really discovered America? If we mean the first humans, it was the ancestors of the Native Americans. If we mean the first Europeans, it was the Vikings. And if we mean the man whose arrival reshaped the world, that was Columbus. But maybe discovery isn't about who got there first. Maybe it's about the moment when two worlds collide, when neither will ever be the same again. In that sense, America has been discovered many times, and each time, history changed forever. And even today, new evidence keeps emerging. Archaeologists uncover forgotten settlements that challenge old maps. DNA studies revealed migrations no one suspected. Indigenous historians share stories far older than any European voyage. The truth is still unfolding, and it's more incredible than anything you learned in school. The real history of America's discovery is not a single event. It's a saga, one that began in the Ice Age, crossed oceans and continues even now. And like all great sagas, it's filled with mystery, courage, and the secrets of the past.